Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The Alumni podcast where you get to hear the inspiring stories and transformation that DVC has had to offer its alumni. And now, on with the episode. Okay. All right. So we are live here on DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. And I've been trying to get you coordinated with you, but because you're such a busy person, Finally, I get to sit down. So I'm super excited. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. Hello. My name is Guadalupe Lopez Villegas. I am in my fourth year here at DVC. Would you like me to go a little bit on my background, or is that?
Yes. Well, we're gonna we'll wander through that. But talk first about where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Martinez. I was born up in the Martinez Hospital next to the high school that I ended up going to. So I've always been very local. I did live a couple years in Mexico. Mm-hmm. My parents are first generation immigrants, so they just thought it'd be nice for me to kind of like know my culture, know my language. So I did grow up about 7 years in Mexico before my parents decided that they wanted to come back. So even though I was born here, I did have to learn the language and everything that had to go with that. But I'm very grateful I had the opportunity of the multicultural upbringing.
Well, in truth be told, so like I know one language, and my command of Spanish is not much beyond a restaurant, a menu. So it's that's like, okay. And that's really kind of my bad. But and that's the thing that I always look at is folks when they speak more than one language. There was a young lady I did a podcast with, and her thing was like, well, my English isn't really good. I said, no, you should wear that on your sleeve, right? Because it's like, you know what, you got multiple things. So okay, well. So you had a chance to grow here. You went to Alhambra.
Yes,
go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
Yeah, my kids all went to College Park, so they're but Falcons versus which is great. I think that's the sort of thing is great, and I know Alhambra is a great school. I mean, and Martinez is a wonderful community.
Yep.
So what prompted you to come over here to DVC? Was that a thought process, or was it just, what was the thing that got you over here?
I think it was a little bit of both. I have a lot of international friends, and I asked them like, oh my God, from across countries, oceans, how did you end up at DVC? And they're like, oh, I like so much thoughtful research that went into it. It's like, how about you? And it's like, well, I lived, 10 minutes away, which is.
Oh, okay. Wait, I'm going to interrupt this story because my brain just like, okay, broke. So you were in high school.
Yes.
And you suddenly had, how did you end up with a whole bunch of international friends? I mean.
It's a DVC. Absolutely.
Really?
DVC opened up so many doors to where there's not like a continent where I haven't made a friend. I haven't learned something new.
Except maybe Antarctica. So yes. Okay.
Maybe there.
Okay. So sorry I interrupted. I was like going, okay. So you ended up here with DVC probably for a lot of the reasons. I mean, the thing I hear from folks all the time is I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. And I've bumped into some very prominent people that are now, like from the 60s and 70s and 80s and stuff, and they're doing great things, and that's why they came here. So that's how you ended up here. So talk about your first kind of soiree into DVC when you showed up here.
Well, I had my junior year, which was very important for application season and stuff like that, over COVID. So I did not come out of that the most academically strong that I had been previously. So going into my senior year, it was a thought process of, okay, well, I'm not really sure. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket because I genuinely did not know what I wanted to do with my life. So I was like, okay, talk to a counselor. I ended up at DVC, and the first semester was kind of carrying with that burden that the last couple years had been. So a lot of insecurity. It was a lot of like, oh my God, I'm in college right now. I had done very bad previously. I don't know how I will navigate this new. I found that DVC had a lot of like really good resources, and I was kind of like picking up pieces of my confidence academically as a student again and again as I went through it, which is really nice. But honestly, out of all the resources that DVC has to offer, I found the biggest helpful one my first semester specifically to be like the student life, like that student engagement community. It was so good. I mean, I met one person, and then one person was like in 3 clubs. So they introduce you to those clubs, and then they introduce you to more people. And then suddenly you're part of this community that like goes to different clubs because you want to like grow together. So that was like my first semester at DVC. It was really like, I don't know what I want to do. But then suddenly I found that like community support system. And going forward, I feel like because there was that strong support system, that strong foundation, I was able to like grow on top of that. So I was very grateful my first semester because it was like, get out there. My parents were very strict at the time, so I had to be home by like 7, 8 p.m. So some of the clubs, maybe I didn't stay as much, but it was really nice to know that I had other people to rely on academically or whatever it was. It never felt like I was alone.
Yeah.
My journey never felt alone. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think first it can be very overwhelming when you get here because it's usually much bigger than high school.
Yes.
And, and it's also, it can be much more diverse. And so you kind of show up and you're kind of, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm by myself because all your friends from high school are gone. And you were doing high school at the end in COVID, which was talk about about 3 steps backwards on everything. And so that had to have been tough. And based on where I know you are now, I find it amazing that you came here to school and you were like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. So, now, so what clubs did you initially get into? And were you part of Puente? Please tell me you were part of Puente.
I wasn't.
No way. Really?
Know. It was one of my biggest regrets. I think like my second semester, because I remember I came for welcome day and they were like walking me around and then they were like Puente. But I was a STEM student at the time.
Oh,
and
okay.
I was under this like wrong impression that I could only be part of one learning community. So between like the STEM, which was Mesa, and Puente, I was like, well, I feel not very the best academically within STEM because STEM is challenging. So I was like, I'm just going to go into Mesa. I'll learn from there. And hopefully I don't miss out on a lot. I then went into Mesa, found out that there's people that were in both learning communities and I did not know that. But I wish that I had known.
Okay,
I wish that I had asked, hey, can I be into? And then someone would have been yes. And I'm like, okay, yay.
Yeah.
And it would have gone so much simpler.
Well, and the thing is, I hear tons of just amazing things about Mesa, about Puente and Mesa both.
Both
are just amazing. The thing I look at is, I went here back in the 80s, so it's like it was not really, we didn't really have the learning communities then, but the thing that I'm amazed at is that DVC sets people up to succeed.
Absolutely.
All you got to do is show up and ask.
Every step of the way,
yeah. So you're a part of Mesa. You showed up. You're part of Mesa. You're, and what clubs did you first get into?
So my first pre-calculus class, I was very confused. So within my calculus class, I was like, my pre-calculus class, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I go on my computer. I'm just going around the DVC website and I just think like there has to be something more out there. So I don't even know, a bunch of buttons clicked, and then next thing I know, I'm at the Associated Students at Diablo Valley College. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. They're having their meeting. I think this was Thursday. And it was like, we're having our retreat on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, that's in like, 2 days. I might show up or something. That day I show up and I'm like 15 minutes late in the parking lot. And I'm like, should I even go in? Like, it's going to be so embarrassing. Like, I'm late. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk in. And I'm so grateful that I did. I first joined the Associated Students at Diablo Valley College, which is the student government here. And it was like nothing I had ever seen before. It was students around my age and they had opinions and they had votes and they had a say in these matters at school. And that was so impressive to me. It was so impressive to see people out there with either similar backgrounds as myself or they came from very similar communities. And I was like, oh my God, like you have a say here, like you're doing this. So I looked at them with a lot of admiration. So I said, okay, yeah. And they took me in, I went in alone. Like it wasn't like my friend group went with me.
Wow.
It was just like me walking into a room and it was like 60 people. But everyone was really, really, really nice. Ivan Hernandez, who was the president at the time, I told him I did the mistake of telling him that I was shy. So he put me in the middle. He put me right in the middle. And then he made me introduce myself to everyone. But I'm really glad that he did because eventually I was like, okay, well, I already got to the worst part, which is talking in front of everyone. And I just kept showing up. And then once I kept showing up, it just made it so that once again, these people were part of clubs. So I joined Toastmasters. That was also very different, like community, but it helped me with like my public speaking, which I was really bad at the beginning. I was so shy, so bad at talking. I'd be like, I'd talk really fast. I'd talk shaking. I'm like, oh my God, I want to cry. It was really bad. So I joined Toastmasters. From there, I joined AGS. My best friend was really into AGS, so she asked me to join. And then I went to a couple meetings and I really liked it. And that was kind of like my I say like my clubs like the first semester. I definitely was more involved in student government than AGS or Toastmasters, but AGS and Toastmasters were really like, you go, your community, you learn a couple things. But yeah, eventually I decided to grow in student government. I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, I'm constantly amazed. So you were this shy person sitting out in the parking lot going, oh my gosh, I don't want to show up. I'm going to be all by myself. I'm late. It's going to be embarrassing. And then the first thing you walk into is not, something simple. It's the student government.
Right.
And, this is probably not a fair question, but had you known what it was, would you have shown up?
I think I don't know. That's like
a tough question.
That is a tough question. Yeah. Maybe like the word like student government is like so like, it's just like something like you don't, it's gonna get you in the, I don't know if I'm like eligible for that, or like, how am I, like, I can't even like talk with you right now. Like, how am I gonna like represent other people and stuff like that? So yeah, I mean, it was like a very large thing to like get the idea of, but I'm kind of glad that I went in with the ambiguity of it all, just because I feel like the more I realized what it was, the more intimidating it seemed, but I was already part of it. And it was one of those things. Yeah, I was like, I'm involved, like I'm here. And then the more comfortable you get, it's intimidating, but the comfortableness of it all just kind of makes it go
well. And I love what Ivan did, which is like, he just grabbed you and said, oh, you're shy. We're going to fix that.
Perfect. Yeah, amazing. Right here.
Yeah. Sit down, girlfriend. You're going to talk to everybody. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, and I think that whole concept, it thinks it's like the best thing you can do is show up.
Yes.
Most of life is just showing up, even if you're going to suck at it, or you think you're not good enough, or you're not this, you're not that. I mean, show up. You never know what's going to happen. So,
yeah.
Remind me afterwards. I want to talk about Toastmasters a little bit, because the local district would love to get very connected to the local district, now, so you go from that.
Yes.
So you do that, and then are you still a STEM student, or have you changed majors?
No. So DVC did figure out. It kind of like did its magic on me, and I did figure out my third semester here, or going into my fourth semester, my classes were already registered. So I was like, okay, well, I am a STEM student for now. But student government took me to Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., I remember I was in the hotel room right after I had just spoken to representatives from, people in Congress. And I was like, I don't want to be a dentist anymore. I was like, I just like advocated for like, who had previously been my parents. I went up to Washington, D.C. and I spoke to, representatives about like dreamers and undocumented students and like, representing them. And in a way, like when I went back, I was like, my parents were that at that time, or I have friends who currently weren't able to get into like programs that were eligible, like Dreamers. Dreamers did close, so they weren't able to get in. So now they're like in really messed up situations that I'm very grateful that I didn't like go through. But if I could give a little bit back by representing them in that stage at that time, then that is something that'd be great. So when I went back, I was like, I don't want to be a dentist anymore. Like this feels like I did something good, and I'm motivated because I know that my hard work is going to go towards something that's going to mean something. Mm-hmm. And, for dentists out there, like, what you do does mean something. But for me, that was so different. I was like, okay. And that's when I decided. I did think about going into political science. I thought going maybe to legal studies. I ended up deciding on business just because I feel like you can apply it in so many areas. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I will go into business. And you know what? I've been here for a while and I'm still figuring it out. But I think even though I'm still trying to figure out what my path is, it's never been more concrete. Like, it's never been more, okay, like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm so grateful to be at this spot that I'm figuring out the next steps, not how to begin. So I'm very excited for the future, either, something public policy or, we never really, and we can't predict where we're going to end up, but I know that I want to be somewhere with a purpose.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like it really, and you talk about DVC worked its magic. And I think education as a whole, if it's working,
amazing,
it does that.
Yeah.
It's just, you can go and, oh yeah, I'm going to be a fill in the blank. And it's like, you get there and you're like, oh wait, this is it. Oh my goodness. So that's amazing. So you're still involved with student government. I know that. And I see you usually, I was actually surprised you dressed down a little bit, and thank you very much. Cause then I didn't feel like quite a slub, cause I see you walking around the campus. I'm like, well, all right, apparently I got to dress up a little bit, but so you're still very involved in student government. So talk a little bit about that. So you stayed involved in student government the whole time.
Yes. I was involved. I am involved this year, not as much as I was last year, but I was involved all 3 years that I first started. I joined my first semester. My first semester, they were planning this new construction in the student union building, and it was my committee named it the Inclusivity and Wellness Center, but at this time it was just a center to help with all legal resources, or like a community space for people to go into. And they were looking for an executive for that. They were like, we need someone who will lead this, and no one did raise their hand. In a room of 60 very motivated people, no one raised their hand. And I was like, well, I'm not where I want to be in my leadership journey, but I think I can be there by the time that I'm needed to step up for that. So I ended up raising my hand, and I was the only one who did. And through that, I became the center ad hoc chair. So I spent my first year talking about the center, making sure that we had flu vaccines at some point, and it was free for students, and it was great. And I was like, I want to get more involved. And I did mention Toastmasters and AGS. So then I became the interclub council chair. I ran for that position and got elected my second year. And that was an amazing opportunity. I was able to help and oversee clubs and everything that they needed. And it felt like I was giving back to the very specific community that I grew out of. So it's really nice to see myself in that situation. And I got to work with an amazing executive team. We were 10 of us. So that was my first time actually leading such a big group. And then, ICC now it's 80 people, but at the time it was 65 or something, and it keeps growing. So that was also, having to get out there, speak in a way that they will listen, was amazing. But I did know from the very beginning, I was one day, I want to be the president. I really want to be the president one day. But it did feel, I have 3 years, but it did feel like I had a lot of growing to do. So I didn't want to jump into my second year. So my second year, I did ICC. It was amazing. And then for my third year, I did run for president. I was elected. And that was life-changing opportunity. Absolutely. It was just so much of getting out of your comfort zone. I think it's the most I've struggled, but the most I've learned, the most of myself that I've put out there, and it's been absolutely amazing.
So, yeah, and I'm thinking back to when you were sitting in the car trying to figure out if you wanted to walk in the meeting lane.
Yeah,
that is a long ways. That's a long way. So, what did you find when you became the president of the ICC? It's ICC, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what did you find was one of your bigger struggles that you had to work on?
Oh, I was the president of the student government. I was chair of the ICC. My bad.
Okay.
So the biggest struggle, you said?
Yeah, because you talked about it was one of your struggles, but it was a great learning. Because I do believe that we only grow through being uncomfortable. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it was it was putting my foot down. I think I grew up in a way that I was always I don't want to say the pushover, but I was I'm maybe overly nice, and maybe some people won't take me seriously because of that, or maybe it's X, Y, and Z. So I did have to get out of the mentality of I'm here to be nice, this friendly face, because there is a balance, and I did have to find that there is a balance to where it's as a leader, you have to put your foot down sometimes, and for the sake of the organization or the sake of the purpose that you're trying to achieve. And I did find that at times I had to find myself being okay, pick yourself up, you're doing this. And then eventually it did get easier. I was really bad at delegating tasks. I felt I didn't want to be a burden on my team. I didn't want to be hey, you do this, you do this. Because in my mind, I was I'm going to be bossy. But in reality, they want to do these things because they're also growing, and they want the opportunity to grow and achieve more. So eventually that also got way better, where I started delegating tasks. And then that's when we started feel like we were working in a team. Because at first I was okay, well, they are my team, but they're not my employees or something. But eventually, it did get to the point where we're all working together, we're working towards the same purpose, and it just felt like we were more in unison.
Well, that's an amazing piece of leadership that you learned, because not all leaders learn that.
Yeah.
Which is, what is it? A friend of mine said over the weekend, it's like many hands make a task easy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're trying to do it all yourself, plus you're trying to go to school, plus you're trying to be a STEM student or whatever you're trying to do that week, it's like, it becomes, it becomes quite a struggle. So you've done this amazing roundabout where you started off as, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And you probably showed up here like a lot of folks, which was, and you've worked well beyond that. You credit Toastmasters, and also you're taking the opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
So where do you see yourself in maybe a year? And what do you see? Okay, let's back up. My brain's kind of all over the place.
That's okay.
So this year, what is it that you're working on this year as far as your personal growth, and then also your, growth as a leader here at because whether you like it or not, you're now a student leader here at DVC. And that's what you signed up for.
It was, yeah. And it all started with like that one first step. And I'm very grateful that it got me here. So for this year, I am in the process of applying. So I am transferring this year. It was a long way, but I'm very glad it took the time that it did. So I'll be transferring. Where I end up, I'm not exactly sure yet. I don't really have like a dream school or something of that sort.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
What is it? Really?
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
I think I got into the mindset that it was like, well, and not, I didn't feel like getting out of high school that DVC was like my dream school, but I think I found something in it so great that I would have never expected. So I think I'm going in it knowing that what I expect won't be what will be, but I think there's a beauty in that in a certain way. So I don't really have like a dream school or like somewhere that I really like want to be there, see myself in, more than I am just like who I want to be when I'm there.
That's a very Zen thing, by the way.
Yeah,
so usually
absolutely.
I'm still working on that, and I'm way older than you. But and that's actually very admirable, where it's just like, you see your path here, but you're willing to take wherever it happens to take you. So do you imagine yourself like wanting to stay closer to home, or like maybe travel a little bit to go to school, or you're just throw the dice and whatever comes?
I'm so 50-50 because I am applying to some of the UCs and some of the state schools here. So I'll be applying to like Berkeley. It's very competitive, but it is really close to home. And then there's also like the other side of like, I'll be applying to Berkeley, but I'm also going to be applying to UCLA, UCSD, and that's completely different. And I'm not really leaning in one way or another. There's that aspect of me that I was like, oh, I want to leave home and I want to experience like this whole new other like part of me, or like some in another place, but I haven't really decided what that is yet. I know that I want to apply out just because everyone that I've spoken to is like apply. Like even if you're not going to get in, someone said to me, if you apply and you get into all the schools that you applied in, you weren't trying hard enough.
Monica Hicks told me that.
Really?
Yeah, she did. She's amazing. She's got an amazing story, and that's one of our podcasts. But it's like, oh no, and that's what she told me. And she actually got into all of her places, so she feels like she didn't apply. But she's actually pursuing a master's at Stanford. And she credits DVC with being that culminant moment where she went from here, and then she went to Stanford for finish her undergraduate, and now she's doing a master's in computer science.
That's
so again,
good,
she said the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
If you don't get rejected, you're not shooting high enough.
Exactly. So you're never gonna know where like the line is if like you don't get shut down a couple times. Yeah. So I'll be applying around and I'll see where that takes me. But I am very hopeful for the UC. And I am going to apply out of state just because of that. Like, I don't want to feel like I was like, oh, like I only kept myself within California. So I'll be applying out. And then, it is very expensive. So I'll be also applying to a lot of scholarships and all things like that, which I recommend every student does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Guess what? She ended up going to Chapman down in Southern California, and she had offers because she played softball very competitively. And so she had offers from the other side of the Rockies. But her thing was, when she got real honest with herself, she didn't want to be quite that far away from home, So I was like, all right. I think you're probably going to do fine as far as wherever you present yourself, you're probably going to do fine.
Thank
So
you.
where do you see yourself like currently? Are you still involved with the student government and the clubs and stuff like that? Or are you kind of starting to pull back a little bit?
I'm definitely around the scene in the way that I'm friends with a lot of people on the executive board. The new president is someone that I'm close with, so it's always someone that I can like talk to about these things. Or if they have any questions about last year, I am in like this, I don't want to say unique because it's definitely happened before, but not so common way that I didn't transfer once my presidency ended last year. So they can like ask me questions. They're like, hey, like you did this last year. Like what was up with that? So it's like good to have like that work together from last year to this year.
And there's a lot of reasons to have an ex officio along,
Yeah.
because of that. It's like, I was like, why did we do it that way?
Yeah.
And when you can't reach them because they're busy in their first semester of, whatever. And it's just like, well, just figure it out, so that part is really good. So you're still fairly involved in that you get to be an ex officio and that you can show up to the meeting, but it's like, it's not on you to run the meeting and nobody's going to be mad at you.
Right. And no one's pointing fingers anymore. So I'm like, yay.
Yeah. Well, it depends on which finger they want to point. Well, and that's terrific. Are you still involved with the Toastmasters and the other club that you were involved with, or do you attend their meetings, or you just kind of like have kind of dialed it back a little bit?
So this year, one of the things that I wanted to do was primarily focus on PBO. So PBO is our business club here on campus. It did go through kind of like a rough patch in the last couple of years. And I thought, well, I was a vice president last year, and I was like, I think I have so much knowledge about what went wrong and about how we can fix that this year. And I think we've been working a lot towards that, but I really wanted that to be like my first priority. I am taking less classes, but that means that I did up my workload. So I am working like 30 hours a week. And that
what
means,
do you do with your workload? You work here on campus.
No. I'm currently working at Sarah in Wanna Creek. It kind of like a sales associate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also kind of like, it first started off as like a summer job, like something that I just wanted to do because I had the time to do it. But then eventually I found myself in the way of like customer service, like being able to hold conversations better. And there were so many skills that I feel like I got from like customer service, like interactions, that I was like, oh, I'll continue this a little bit more. And yes, the pay is good and there's so many benefits to keep going back. But I did feel like I was uncomfortable again. And I feel like I hadn't felt that a little bit just because I feel like I'd grown so much. But that made me realize I had a lot of growing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've stuck there for about 4 to 5 months now. It's a really good experience.
And I think any kind of retail or customer service or anything, waiting tables, everything from that to somehow where you got to deal with people, and people come in all sorts.
Yes.
You learn some amazing skills with that, that either you grow and learn and you bring them along through your life, or you know what, you go sit on your phone over in the corner and don't do anything. So, PBL. So you're kind of taking the reins on that one, and you're kind of helping move them forward. What do you see this year as a growing opportunity for that club?
I think it's a growing opportunity, but I think it's a turning point.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of things that we have started to do again that we want to like keep implementing. I did feel that disconnect between like, the last board leaves and the new board takes over and et cetera. So I am working like on a continuation plan, just to make sure that when this board leaves, because it's not only me, the board has done an amazing job. Every single one of the executives has taken initiative like beyond like their description or beyond their roles, and it's making me like super proud. But once I transfer and once the executive board transfers, we want to make sure that PBO like keeps standing, that it doesn't have to go through a rework the same way that we're doing this year. So working towards that. We are in the process. We didn't attend last year, unfortunately, but this year we'll be attending the SoCal conference down in San Diego. So we will be competing in some business case studies, and hopefully we bring back, a couple medals with the podium up there. So the team is very excited about that. And we have another one coming up in the spring. And those are like the biggest things that I want to, or events that I want PBL to keep doing and keep upholding. It's a really good opportunity for members to grow. I know that when I went, I was a biology major in between a bunch of business students. And, I was very uncomfortable. And with that came learning and being able to speak and being able to do a lot of all-nighters. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, yeah.
Well, in the succession planning, that is one of the things that I think is absolutely critical. And oftentimes because of the way the clubs are set up, like you're right. It's like, the second year student, they've start a club or they're leading a club, and then they get into wherever and they're gone.
Right.
And so unless there's some sort of plan to like kind of keep things moving in a constructive direction, then it does become, you're rebuilding every single year. And then that's really hard on a club.
And I feel like you can't grow if you keep rebuilding. So I wish for the next year to build or get, higher place that we were this year, because we were able to set that ground for them to grow on. Yeah.
So do you have people like kind of in the wings that are helping out that are going to be able to step into those shoes, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have executives. I mean, the executives are all going to be transferring, but then again, that was the case last year. Like everyone's going to transfer, but then, something will happen. A lot of the executives that are now like in Berkeley Haas, like they come down and they help sometimes. I reached out to them because I was like, hey, I really want to win. Can you teach us a little bit about what you're doing, stuff like that. So it's really good to have the connection with the alumni.
Yeah.
Reach out because they've been there, they know that, and they've kind of like thought about it in the group perspective, and so it's really well to have like those connections. So hopefully, and then we have officers, first year students.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's like,
because then they're sitting at the big people table, and it's like, then that way they can kind of see how it's done. It's like, oh, this worked. No, we're not going to do it that way.
Yeah, no. I think it's for them specifically, it's good for them to see like the good things that we're doing, but then also like the bad. Like sometimes if like one of the meetings that we didn't have the slides and stuff, I'm like, guys, like, unfortunately, like this week, maybe we didn't have the time, maybe we didn't have like the attention span for this, but this is something that's important. So like this is what, it's kind of that accountability towards like the officers. And I think letting them see you grow as well, it's making them grow and letting them be part of the conversation instead of like, the outsider where it's like, like the big people table and then the kid table on the side. So just making sure that they are on the same like playing field. Something that I did different this year was that I put everyone as the same title. So in prior years, in prior years, it was like the vice president of internal, external, marketing, communications, finance, and then we had secretary and ICC. And then I was like, well, you guys are just as important part of the team as we are. So we did change our position so that they're like the vice president of administration and the vice president of club relations. And then that way, it's like the team and we're all kind of like on the same field in a way. Same with like our officers. Our officers are all director of something, director of like professional development, director of marketing, director of networking, etc. So it's just like a way to keep everyone in check because, you bring as much as I do to this team. Therefore, like, we're all equals.
I have a ton of things that I'm thinking about. So like, for instance, networking, one of the things that I'm working with a number of classes right now, and I'm starting to work with some of the clubs is networking workshops and then taking them, like, for instance, we have a networking thing coming up on the 21st where we have DVC students that are all of a sudden I'm bringing in business professionals. And so it gives them a chance to practice their networking skills because you probably learned a lot about that through Toastmasters and going to things and being uncomfortable and finding out all the things that, make you super uncomfortable. I'm trying to get them past that point to a point where they're comfortable and like, oh my gosh, this really isn't that bad. And learning how to, there's also First Friday Coffee, but I'd love to talk to you some more about maybe coming in and doing a workshop with you guys. And then also the other thing too is I'd like to create an alumni, PBL specifically alumni network within our community. And then that way the people that have been there before can sign up, the people that are currently there can sign up. And then that way you guys can, because right now, the folks that were here last year, right?
Right.
Maybe the year before.
Yes.
Okay. Probably not the year before that.
No.
And so my idea, and we got to start somewhere, is to start with the current cohort and then work on building those folks out so that in 10 years,
they'll be.
Yeah. And people they can just go look at, we can call Bob Johnson. He's been, around for 10 years and it's like he's been out. Let's see what he did. Right. And stuff like that. So that's something I'd love to have you help me with since apparently you don't have enough projects right now. But that's you've had an amazing career here at DVC. And it's like, so you don't really have a vision as far as what it looks like in 5 years, right? Who knows what it's going to be, but let's take the crystal ball and say, okay, what do you think would be your dream? Just, throw it out there.
in 5 years?
Well, 10 years.
10
So,
years?
yeah, 10 years, something shiny, you know?
In 10 years, something that I like want to achieve. In 10 years, I'm trying to think. I want to be a homeowner. I feel like that's like a big
That's gonna be
thing.
tough.
Yeah, within like, the community and the economy and everything. I would want to be a homeowner in 10 years. But fingers crossed. In 10 years, I would like to have a career that fills me out with like purpose. Like I want to have like a purpose. So I go to school or not school or, to the job every day and like keep working towards that. And then, yeah, I think the difference is that a lot of people have like I want to be like a corporate lawyer or I want to be like, the next like U.S. senator or something. But I just kind of, I'm keeping it open.
Oh, okay.
I think there's been a lot of times that I've told myself and I was like so sure about something and it's like, this is like exactly what I'm going to do. Or I wasn't sure about something. I think there were things when I first came into DVC that I like cut off. I did not join PBO my first 2 years because I thought it wasn't for me. And now I'm the president. So, kind of like life has like those little funny moments that I'm like, I don't know where I'll be in 10 years, but I hope that I've progressed a lot. I hope that I've like grown a lot. In 10 years, I hope to give back a lot. I think in 10 years, once I have like a career like situated or I'm working towards something, I would definitely love to come back and give back in any way possible that I can. And yeah, it's just growing every single day and yeah, I don't have like an impact.
Well, and I was gonna say, I'm really amazed at how, first of all, how kind of zen that answer is. It's like I'm looking for something fulfilling. I don't know what's going. I mean, I'm on my 4th career, so it's just and they're all really different. So it's not like they all. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. So, anything else you want to add?
From I think.
Oh, okay. So if you, this is a question I've asked some folks. So if you had a piece of advice for your younger self, you're showing up at DVC, right? What would be that piece of advice?
Show up. If it's the wrong room, if it's the wrong time, if it doesn't feel right, if you don't want to go in, if you see a paper and there's a date and a time, my advice to that person, just be show up, because you really don't know what walking through the door like awaits you until you do. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to have the skills. You don't have to be the person that you want to be for you to get started. I think that was like the biggest thing when I came in was I don't see myself there because I'm not that person yet. And I think going into it and being part of the organization on so many different levels, you realize no one's ready. Like no one in that aspect, especially us, like community college students that are still finding out who we are, like what we want to do or who we want to be or by what principles we want our life to look like. No one really is there yet at this point of our lives. So you shouldn't be like, I'm not there yet, therefore I can't be this. You can 100% be that because that is something that you're going to grow towards. Your rough draft is going to be the most amazing thing that you're going to have at that time. So keep building on it until you become that person. Because I feel like I'm very content with the progress that I've made, but there's definitely things that I still want to work towards. And it's like, it fuels me, it like keeps me going and all these things. So show up and just do the part, not because you feel ready, but because you want to.
That is amazing advice. I happen to agree. It took me a long time to figure that out. So congratulations on getting that at this point in your journey. So I think we'll leave it there. If anybody wants to reach out to you, how would they reach out?
They can reach out to me in any way. My email is Guadalupe Villegas 016. I'm trying to think of like
your LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn, Guadalupe Lopez Villegas.
I'll put that in the show notes. So yeah, it's like, because I think people are going to want to reach out to you because I think you're amazing, and I was really excited when you finally said, "Yeah, I can do it." And I do remember I was walking across the quad. It's like, oh my gosh! So I so appreciate it. Well, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for taking the time. And again, I get how busy you are, so it's like, and good luck in your future endeavors. And I think we've got a few projects we can work on together too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next, the podcast for the DVC Alumni Association. You can contact us at alumni@dvc.edu with any comments, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our podcast.